Hello, 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 and welcome to our Sickage virtual event today. 5 reasons life science companies are moving to the cloud. We're so glad that you could be here with us today for this life science session. So many life science companies, especially in that pre-revenue startup phase, think that ERP is too costly, too complex for a business of their size. However, in just a matter of months, these same companies often find that spreadsheets or accounting solutions like QuickBooks or perhaps working off of other legacy or homemade systems are just not, working and keeping up with the growing demands of their business. So today we're going to discover why life science organizations like yourself here now are moving their operations to the cloud to eliminate compromises and bottlenecks before they interfere with their company's mission. So presenting to us today is Mr. Jim Ingram. Jim is an account executive here at Sickage, and he specializes in using technology like Oracle NetSuite, which we'll talk a little bit about today, to help companies improve their business outcomes. Jim works closely with clinical research organizations and life science organizations like yourself to improve and streamline all of these technology systems. So, Jim, we appreciate having you and giving us your expertise on cloud products for life science companies. So I want to remind everyone, though, that throughout the session, feel free to submit your questions. There's a little question area that you can add on our live stream page. That's why we're coming to you here live. We want to be able to answer your questions and have our subject matter experts get back to you as soon as possible to solve your business challenges that are happening today. So, Jim, I don't have anything else to say. I think we can throw it back over to you, and thanks again for being here.
Welcome. Thank you, Michael, very much for the introduction, and thank you very much for everybody kind of taking some time out of their busy day to join us. I sincerely hope that you'll, at the very least, take 1 or 2 nuggets from today and be able to apply that as you move forward with an organization. As Michael said, my name is Jim Ingram. I've been with Sickage now, believe it or not. This is my 5th anniversary this week. And for the vast majority of that time has really been working closely with our life sciences organizations and for the most part, helping them move off of QuickBooks on to NetSuite. As Michael mentioned, the main topic for today is, the 5 reasons why life sciences are moving to the cloud. Prior to that, just to kind of set the stage, want to provide a little background on who Sickage is, what's NetSuite, and then, have a brief discussion around our experience in the life sciences industry. So Sickage is a national professional services firm. We're actually corporately based about 40 minutes outside of Chicago in Naperville, Illinois. We're 1,000 strong, folks in the firm. Now spread out over our 20 physical offices, and obviously thanks to the pandemic, our many, many, many other home offices throughout the United States. We work in about 25 to 30 different service lines, very diverse organization, but our single-minded focus is really working with our clients to help them improve their business performance, primarily by leveraging modern day technology, and that that simply leads to the cloud nowadays. And speaking of that, what is NetSuite? So NetSuite is the #1 mid-market cloud ERP out there. And I like to think about NetSuite as more than just a software, more of a platform. A platform for you to really utilize and run your organization on a daily basis. So what is our life sciences experience? So realistically, our life science practice probably goes back about 15 or 16 years, back to the days where the logical step off of QuickBooks was Dynamics GP. But as technology has kind of evolved, so has our practice, right? So we have actually just over 100 life science clients now, all but 2 or 3 are really usually using NetSuite to run their businesses. And because of all that experience that we've gained over the years, we really do have a deep knowledge and understanding of the life science industry. Most of our clients started as that pre-revenue, maybe even preclinical And we were lucky enough to help them through the process to be a part of their journey towards commercialization. And because of all that, really after our first 20 or 30 NetSuite life science implementations, we realized that we were solving the same issues over and over and over again for our life science clients. So we really wanted to figure out what's a better way. How do we help our clients move to the cloud quicker and more efficient and with more of a life science kind of specific environment? So we created what we call Sicket Success for Life Sciences. And what it's allowed us to do, in the years since we've developed it, is really being able to implement smarter, more efficient, and quicker. And in some cases, in as little as 30 days. And that has really, provided some very happy clients. And as you can see with our customer kind of net promoter score, our life science organizations are very happy with us. So what is Sicket Success for Life Sciences? It's essentially based on these 6 tenets. So NetSuite is well known for providing out of the box industry best practices to all of their clients. And these are ways to automate your business processes so you can optimize them, so you can develop new ones, and then you can honestly design and implement the solution faster. What our team has done is really developed a series of bundles, right? And they've created, further developed those best practices to create specific ones for the life sciences. We're talking about ways to manage your chart of accounts, manage your vendors, how do you manage your projects and programs. In addition to that is creating a number of life science reports, right? And in any of these things, we're talking about best practices, reporting, workflows, roles, and dashboards. These are going to be out of the box to our life sciences IP. It's part of a bundle that we drop inside of a NetSuite environment, and then we can go to work and kind of custom tailor those to individual needs. So those reports are very important, right? NetSuite does provide some great out-of-the-box reports, but we've developed one specifically for the life sciences. And SEC reporting is always a big piece of that. Integrations specifically kind of talks about third-party procurement systems. So these are very important for many early and later stage life sciences organizations because their scientists need punch-out services. That is not native NetSuite functionality. And honestly, the 2 most common solutions we work with are Prendio and Coupa. Both very good third-party procurement solutions for different reasons, right? Both do provide punch-out services. Something like Prendio, obviously, kind of if you don't have a centralized purchasing agent, you can leverage the services they provide. But if you do, something like Coupa for life science organizations of any size and stage is a great option for you. In terms of workflows, right? NetSuite provides workflows on virtually any aspect of the system. What we've done is create life science specific workflows based on our experience, right? So how do life science organizations typically handle journal entries, right? The vendor management, vendor bills. These are the things that we've been able to create and solve a lot of issues very easily for our clients. And the same thing goes for roles and dashboards, right? We understand what a CFO, what a controller, a VP of finance, or a project manager needs to see and interact with on a daily basis when they come to work. And the last piece are these 2, vendor study management and project change orders. These are really the 2 true customizations we've developed in our system. And vendor study management is, and I'll get into it in a little bit, it really is a quasi-module that we have developed inside of NetSuite for you to manage your large dollar spends with CROs and CMOs. And if you're doing these kind of trials, right, inevitably there's always a project change order. And since NetSuite doesn't have functionality that handles project change order, we have developed it in the system. So now I want to transition into the main topic for today. Right? So really the 5 reasons why life sciences companies are moving to the cloud. And number 1, it's focus on your mission, right? So one of the things that we see a lot, right, as we work with our life science clients is they are doing everything except focusing on their science. And at the end of the day, that's what they're in business to do. So realistically, you want to work with a partner that is going to help you, move you to the cloud and leverage something like our life science on NetSuite for you to get back to do that. Because some of the common challenges that we see in the startup phase, it's very fast paced, right? It's a high growth area, but organizations are running lean, especially in the finance department. So many times of the processes that they're dealing with, whether in their QuickBooks or they're in, Excel, it's all manual processes that can take time. It's inefficient, and are honestly error prone. They're also wearing a lot of different hats, right? They're doing many things, and their time could very easily be, their productivity could be easily increased by leveraging something like NetSuite and automating a lot of the processes. And also too, very cost conscious, right? Worrying about burn rate, worrying about where the next round of funding is coming from. And then in terms of the common systems that we're seeing, more often than not on the ERP side, we're moving people off of QuickBooks, right? QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop. So obviously, as they move to the cloud, as they mature as an organization, and whether that is to prepare to go public, right, or prepare for an equity event like additional funding or maybe an acquisition, that's really where they have to start worrying about, security and roles, segregation of duties, audit trails, things that are just not inside of QuickBooks. It is natural native functionality with NetSuite. And then some of those other systems that they're leveraging in terms of FP&A analysis and reporting, we're now really sitting inside of manual Excel files. And and the thing with Excel files is they're great. I don't think anybody will ever get off of Excel files exclusively, but they are prone to error, right? There is that kind of manual aspect of it. We also look at it even in lean organizations. If you're sharing an Excel file with 2 or 3 people or even more, now you have to worry about people creating their own versions, worrying about, looking at different data. Whereas you move to the cloud in something like NetSuite, you're using real-time data and analysis for all that are in the system. Procurement, as I kind of mentioned earlier, it's a very important aspect of every conversation we have about life sciences. That purchasing strategy is really important, right? Because many of the life science organizations are leveraging, or they need punch-out services. And then for those that may not know, exactly what that is really, the easiest way for me to discuss it is you have a scientist who needs to order 100 beakers for the R&D lab. Right, so rather than have to go to multiple websites, find out what they want, get the price. Realistically, with PunchOut, you're able to input what you want, and then with a press of a button, it'll automatically bring you back a number of estimates that allows you to choose the correct item for the best price. And that is, since that's not native NetSuite functionality, many of our life sciences organizations need that, right? In the early stage, we do see them, you're doing manual spreadsheets for purchase orders, using something like LabCloud or Quartzy. We also see, as I mentioned, BioProcure and Prendio a lot for those earlier stage folks who don't have that centralized purchasing agent. And then, as we kind of go along, and I think one of the things that people may have misconstrued is that Coupa is a fantastic procurement option for life science organizations of all sizes. And then that last piece there is around approvals, right? So whether that's sending back and forth in emails, whether that is actually printing out a paper document and walking it into somebody's office to get signed. Now, I know we've all been kind of living in a pandemic here. Many of us, especially in this industry, that are not scientists, they're working remotely. And having to have somebody manually sign off on a piece of paper is just not feasible anymore. And that's why we've seen so many of our organizations, especially in the last year, really make that move to the cloud. Having a system that can provide that automated approval system has been a huge benefit to them. So we already kind of talked a little bit about why organizations are moving to the cloud. We talked about some of the ways that we've been able to help them, right, with adding those automated approvals and roles and security and auditability. Another piece of it is really this quasi module that we've developed for vendor study management. Many times we'll see our clients when we first engage with them, if they're working with a CRO or if they're working with a CMO, they're all managing these in their Excel files, right? Very cumbersome, a lot of labor over every month. So what we've done is when you are working, with a CRO specifically, essentially I always kind of make it nice and easy, right? So say for instance, you're working with Charles River Lab on a trial. It's a 12-month trial and it's going to cost you $1.2 million. In our system, you go in, you create this contract, you enter the term of the contract, and then say for instance, it's basically a straight line expected spend of $100,000 for 12 months. You put that planned amount in. At the end of every month, when you get those invoices, when you get the actuals, you go in the system, you input that actuals into the ITD invoice here over the right, and the system will put you in a prepaid or an accrual state. It'll automatically book that journal entry and will really save a ton of time and effort, number one. And number two, because you have this in your system, you're able to report on it and you're able to provide that visibility to other folks in the system. The next piece is growing at your own pace. And this is, where honestly, just base NetSuite as a platform and a software really comes into play. Because NetSuite is designed for you to be able to start off very small. And as you mature as an organization, you can add users. You can add functionality. The important thing is you can start with based on what you need, knowing where the end road is going to be, and really design the system to accommodate for that. And then when we look at it, there's really two main phases here for life sciences organizations that we work with. Anywhere from very early, from that idea all the way pretty much close to or into phase 3, you really fit inside what we describe as our phase 1 life sciences implementation. Right, and so that's moving folks off of QuickBooks or another system, off of a lot of manual spreadsheets, maybe off of some additional things like Build.com to handle AP automation, and bringing them into NetSuite and handling their financials, right? Helping them handle things like SOX compliance, and handling reporting for SEC. It's also, as you just mentioned, managing your projects and your programs and your vendors and your vendor studies. And it's also managing your procurement, whether that's inside of NetSuite or with something like Coupa. And then depending on what type of research and development are and what reporting requirements you have, also things like managing inventory. And inventory specifically if you are lot or serial tracked information. As you graduate into that phase 3, as you're getting ready for commercialization, and what we found with our clients is this is really the phase where you really need to think about, what are those other things you have to worry about come FDA approval and commercialization. How are you going to manage your manufacturing? Are you going to continue to outsource it? Are you going to, build out your own manufacturing facility? How are you going to handle, sales and distribution, your supply chain? Are you going to work with 3PLs as more of a turnkey 3PL? What we always say is if you're an organization that's going to continue to outsource, realistically, NetSuite is the last ERP system you'll ever need to go on. Simplifying compliance, right? The way I look at it is there's several reasons for this, right? Number one, if you are preparing to go public. And then number two, if you're an organization that's trying to position yourself for additional funding, for an acquisition, right? This is really when you want to make a move to the cloud that will provide you the functionality that helps you accomplish this. All right, we already talked about the scalability, right? NetSuite in our solution here is a great opportunity to allow you to grow and scale without adding complexity or potentially headcount, especially if you need to continue to be a lean organization. So leveraging a system, a platform that allows you to leverage automated approvals and workflows, or allows you to have the appropriate controls and segregation of duties. And if you look at this kind of diagram here on the right, this is an example of one of our life sciences vendor approval workflows, right? Looks very simple. And it is, right? The great thing is, depending on what your needs are and requirements are, this is a very easy Visio-like diagram that we can tweak and change based on your individual customized needs. And then from the finance perspective, if you're moving on your month end to close, it really does provide that great month end checklist to ensure that you're closing properly. And then one of the things we talked about, obviously, is kind of as you're preparing to IPO, the amount of reporting, obviously, that is required is important. And this here is a screenshot of a life sciences SEC income statement that we have developed, and it is part of our out-of-the-box life sciences implementation. And this is a great opportunity if there's any specific, needs or tweaks that you can have. It's a part of, even NetSuite itself is very flexible. It's very, more often than not, we are creating configuration tweaks rather than true customizations. And when we built our solution, to help move companies to the cloud, we wanted to make sure it still had that flexibility, right? So that our bundle in general allows you to be much closer. Your starting line is much closer to your finish line based on what we've divided, but it still provides you the flexibility to make those changes. Next is kind of centralizing data. And I always like to take a step back and quickly just remind the crowd about NetSuite as a platform, right? So NetSuite is a software as a service. It is true cloud, and it was developed to live in the cloud from day one. So what that means is that you can access NetSuite on any device, so essentially anywhere in the world on any device, as long as you have an internet or data connection. Because of that, everybody in your organization is accessing real-time data and analysis. So whether you have a home office, so whether you have your corporate office in Cambridge, but then you have several folks that are kind of working from home in Natick or Wellesley or Canton, right? Doesn't matter where you are, you're leveraging real-time data and analysis. Another good thing, as we know, is many of the life science organizations we work with have U.S. headquarters and then also have entities. So whether, once again, your U.S. headquarters is in Cambridge, if you have entities in Switzerland or Germany or Ireland, the folks, even though that they're working off different time zones, you're all leveraging real-time data and analysis, and allows you as an organization to work more collaboratively and make smarter, better decisions. Now, personally, I'm a big fan of this image here on the right. We call it the life sciences wheel because it provides a holistic view of what NetSuite can do for a life sciences organization. Everyone we're working with always kind of sits inside that middle piece of the financials, but depending on who you are and what stage you're in, really determines what functionality that you're using. Most of our clients start on the left side here as pre-revenue, managing their financials and their projects and their studies. If they're doing a certain number of R&D here, they're leveraging the fixed assets module. And as we kind of help them along their journey to commercialization, they're layering on other functionality, like managing your inventory, your supply chain, and your manufacturing. And the great thing is with NetSuite is has great integration capabilities. So for things like third-party procurement solutions, which we mentioned a lot with Prendio and Coupa, whether it's Concur or Expensify or another expense system, could be Adaptive Insights or NetSuite Oracle's PDCS for FP&A. Once you're able to integrate that, you're really able to centralize your data and do more inside of a single system. And NetSuite really does kind of become your single source of truth for the organization. And then last, but certainly not least, is peace of mind, right? So I look at it this way. If I'm working with a life science organization and I can help them focus on the science, if I can help them scale and grow their business without adding complexity or headcount, if I can help them better manage their compliance, right? If I can help them do more inside of a single system, to me, I've done my job, and I've been able to help my clients move to the cloud and have that peace of mind that their organization is using a system that's going to help propel their organization forward. Once again, thank you. That's really all I had kind of prepared for today, and I appreciate everybody hopping on, and hopefully we will have some good questions that I can answer.
Excellent. Just had to go off unmute there. Thanks, Jim.
Welcome.
I appreciate everything and very interesting topics. And we do have a few questions. I'm just bringing them up here right now. Okay, so first question is one issue that has been, there's been a lot of conversation around the cloud and security. what would you say to a life science company, for instance, that may be concerned about security in the cloud?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I'd say number one, I will put it back on NetSuite, right? So you're looking at these pieces of software or these platforms that with NetSuite, the only option they have is in the cloud, right? It is their job to make sure that everybody's information is safe and secure, right? They spend millions and billions of dollars to ensure that safety. I will always say this as somebody prior to working with Sikich, I worked in IT companies, and I saw the level of effort and honestly the ongoing cost it takes. You're far more secure nowadays having your information in the cloud and being protected by something like NetSuite and Oracle than you are if you're having all of your information stored on your own servers. And all of that risk goes back on your own internal IT.
Yeah. No, that's great. It's a common question that we get a lot,
Mm-hmm.
Jim, and I think that's a great way to explain that and ensure that this is a secure environment, especially for life science companies that have to deal with a lot of those types of compliance issues and mandates and things like that. So another question we've got is at what point do you typically, or I guess on average, see companies move from something like a QuickBooks or a homegrown system to that true cloud ERP system?
Great question, and I think it's a different answer now than even it was a year or two ago, right? So we are seeing organizations move to the cloud much earlier stage, right? So almost always it was, hey, we got our Series B funding. This is now funding a number of other things, allows us to add, manpower, right, headcount, and allows us to address our systems. We are now actually seeing organizations move to the cloud even earlier than that, right? So especially if you're VC and PE backed, a lot of those organizations, they want you to be on more of a more robust system that provides those securities and controls. That way, it makes it easier as you grow as an organization. Definitely, one of all the tried and true stopping points is as you're preparing to go public. That's really has always been the main trigger, is making sure that you're going to have that in place.
Excellent. Thanks, Jim. And last question that I have here, I believe, last question. If anyone has any questions, this is our last one for now, but if I see one pop up, I'll make sure to ask that one as well. So a lot of employees are socially distant at offices. Some are working from home. Is implementation of the Suite Success for Life Sciences and the product that we have at Sikich to implement, is that done virtually? Is it difficult to do in these types of environments in the age of COVID?
No, it's it's definitely back prior to COVID, and I think even still today, we would prefer to sit down inside a conference room with somebody. Not because it makes implementation easier, but it makes making that personal connection, right? So understanding, really figuring out, that's always something that I know our consultants and myself do enjoy. I think it's easier to get to know people face to face. But in terms of actually the implementation and the design, we've actually found that we've been far more efficient since COVID started when we've done fully remote, right? I think it allows us to create agendas and design the implementation timeline in a much more efficient way, right? So rather than sitting down with folks for 8 hours a day, and honestly, both sides getting a little bit of burnout, right? We're able to schedule these in 2 to 3 hours that are hyper-focused, give them breaks so they can get out, they can actually get back and do their daily responsibilities for their jobs. So it is something that I really, truly believe we're gonna continue to see more and more, even when we kind of get back to, whatever normal life is going to be.
Right, exactly. Excellent. Let's see. Okay, so another question that's come in, aside from procurement solutions, what other applications can you integrate with NetSuite? This is a good question.
It is a good question. And honestly, the integration capabilities are almost unlimited, right? So NetSuite has some great out-of-the-box APIs that you can use to implement, integrations. There's also a number of third-party integration tools. Personally, at Sikich, we prefer to use and partner with Celigo for that. And the great thing is with Celigo, or even some of these other platforms, they have many of these systems have out of the box or out of the box integrations. Either they developed with NetSuite or Sligo has these connectors for a large number of systems, right? I mean, AP automation tools in general, I could probably rattle off 6 or 7 right off the top of my brain that either are native integrations or you're using something like Sligo. But the great thing too is we do find a lot of, especially in life sciences, you could have a homegrown system that you're using for like a LIMS system, for instance. As long as we're using something like Sligo, we can easily integrate and have that managed. That way, upon new release, which NetSuite has 2 new releases on an annual basis, that Sligo will be the tool to make sure that integration does not break as NetSuite rolls out the new release functionality.
Yeah, it's the beauty of cloud applications, right? You don't have
Yes.
to worry about those things breaking when you do the next update. They're all working together and talking to each other, and that just really gives that, like you said, peace of mind for the company to continue that.
And also on that too, I mean, because we do see this from time to time, technology has come a long way, right? So we still have clients that may have an on-premise application that needs to be integrated into NetSuite, like the cloud solution, and that is so much easier than it was in years past.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, great, Jim. Thank you so much. We don't have any other questions for you. We're getting done here right about 12:30 Central Time. Appreciate your time here. This video will be available to you at some point. I think we'll send out a follow-up email here to anyone that attended so that you can grab this video, share with colleagues, coworkers, other companies that you may be working with. And Jim here is always happy to receive any of your questions. So feel free to reach out to Jim at jim.ingram@sickage.com. You can also visit us at www.sickage.com, which there's a little scrolling thing going on down there below, and to find all your life science needs for your organization. So we're happy that everyone was here today, and we hope to see everybody next time. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Bye.